So you just wanted to chat about the patch, right? Just to give
Yes.
like
Yeah,
our
yeah.
thoughts on the
I thought it'd be
patch.
fun. I was going to 'cause usually after each patch, I do like a little like kind of a thoughts video, not anything heavily
Mm-hmm.
edited, where I just talk about my thoughts on how it was. Because for some people, some reason people listen to me. I don't know why. And I thought it would be fun to do that. And then I was like, you know what? Lately, because we're both farming drops. Let's be honest. Laura's been alive a lot. I bet I could get her in here. We could just chat about it. And
Hell
so
yeah.
yeah, and to Laura's audience and her defense, I messaged her like 2 hours ago. I was like, "Yo, I just had this stupid idea, and if the timing's too short, I understand." And she's like, "No, that's good. Let's do it." So here we are.
No, it's all good. I like doing these little spontaneous collabs, just like calling in and stuff. It's always fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
very curious what you think in general. Like, I feel like because of the Twitch drops, I've kind of just been in my own echo chamber the past couple days. I've just been like live the whole time. I haven't even looked at Reddit very much. Just kind of been doing my own thing. So I'm very curious what you think about the patch, actually.
first of all, the whole not looking at Reddit thing, highly recommend it. Great for your mental health.
For
I would
sure.
recommend not doing that any day of the week. Um, as far as my thoughts, I mean, I made like a little bullet point list that I have up on my stream right now that is essentially just like, it's like story and then like the new map and then like the new Convergence boss. And I figured that if you're okay with it, we could just go through each thing on like a topic by topic thing.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
Wow, this is so prepared.
It's
Professional
sort
podcast.
of. I basically just went to the patch notes for like the list of new stuff and then turned it into bullet points. But yes, efficiency. So,
Let's go.
doing it that way, the first thing on the list is the new story. Just focus on the new story. I assume you've already played it. I don't have to worry about spoiling you. All right, there's a bunch
I've
of floaty people.
There's a lot of floaty
There's a
people.
lot of floaty people.
Um, I okay, so I feel that the story, I feel like it's kind of. So I wrote a tweet about this, and a lot of people are surprised, but I think this is the best story they've done in straight up several years. Um, and I feel like I have to explain why that is. Basically, the story it calls back to Gilter's Bond stuff. It's sort
Mhm.
of like dealing with the original mysteries that they set up in the original game all the way back in like 2005. And I'm like a lore nerd. I live for that stuff. I've made lore videos about the Mersad like a million times, and like I've done all the speculation. So to me, it's like this patch gave me everything that I've been waiting for. Like I've been thinking about the Mersad and the Sears and Spectre Agony and like the Door of Kamali and all that stuff. That stuff is like I grew up playing Guild Wars 1, caring about that story. So to me, this patch was like there were always like little books, and every time I'd read a book, I would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're talking about the Guild Wars 1 stuff." I was just getting mind blown continuously by the story.
Now,
But at the same time, I can imagine that if you're not a Guild Wars 1 lore nerd, that you might not care as much about that stuff. But I cared a lot about that stuff.
I'd
So
say
I
I'm so
really liked
glad
it.
that you know so much about it because like I don't want to say you're at the other end of the spectrum from me on this topic because I didn't like hate it or dislike it or anything, but I knew that you had done a fairly recent playthrough of Guild Wars 1 and I had
Yes.
not. So I went through this as the eyes of someone just blind to this entire topic.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Guild Wars 2 story. I like the lore. I've actually read some of the books. But all this stuff about the Mersat and the Seers and the White Mantle, I knew basically only what they were giving me in the game, like within Guild Wars 2, not within the
Yeah.
games.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah.
for me, I thought it was good, but like there was we're following Mabon's not ghost around. We're seeing his
Mm-hmm.
memories. There was the thing about the spectral agony, and I was like, okay, this is kind of like a chemical weapon that the Mersat basically made against the seer. And then we met, I believe it was Yagon that made the spectral agony. And then she was like, "Oh, Asgarin, you killed me," and he's like, "Yeah, and I did it real good. I killed your whole family too." And I was like, "Dang, dude!" So like that was pretty savage. And then I forget his name. It started with M. There was that other evil Mersat that we chased around for a while. Maybe you,
Manikas.
yes,
I love
Monica. So
Manikas.
again, for me, the commander character was like, "Oh, you again." I'm like, "Chat, do we know him?" And they're like, "Yeah, you met him in the last zone." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that was months ago. I forgot." So I was kind of blind to it, and like I was digging it. I was enjoying it, but I definitely wasn't getting the nostalgia vibes because I didn't have that underlaying information that you had.
I think it was also just pretty complicated. Like there's a lot of lore books, and these lore books they follow like several different like plot threads. There's like books from like a couple years ago. There's like books from like 1,000 years ago. There's books that are like ancient. I feel like you really gotta pay attention to properly follow what's going on. Because there were definitely moments where I was getting confused as well. And that's like as somebody that's like really into this like franchise, right? Really into like the Mersat lore and the Seer lore and stuff. There were definitely moments where I was like, wait, what? Hold on. And then I had to like go back and take a look and stuff. Um, but to me, I've something I quite liked was how they sort of like they intertwined the stories really effectively, I think. Like they did a lot of these Guild Wars 1 callbacks, but then they also had a lot of new stuff. Like Manikas is a new character that wasn't in Guild Wars 1, for example, right? And then they sort of like linked that together. So I think that's part of like my specific enjoyment was seeing them do a story that felt so interconnected with the old stuff. But yeah, it was definitely I think for me the lore was the good part because story there's also of course the
Uh-oh,
story
she hates the whole
gameplay
rest of the
aspect,
patch. We're
right?
going downhill after
No, no, no,
this.
no, 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 no. But like I didn't think the story gameplay was like incredible or whatever. Sometimes you'll do a story and there's like a really good boss fight in a story patch. I didn't really feel that. Like for me, the story gameplay was kind of the usual, I guess. But for me, yeah, it was just all those lore books everywhere and all the ghosts and
Yeah,
piecing together everything, right? Finding all the
you
dialogue
mentioned that
around
it
the
was
map and stuff.
hard to you mentioned it was hard to follow at times, and
Yes.
definitely plus one that because I did something that I had never really done playing this game, and is after I played it, I hit H, went to story journal, and I went back to 14, 15, and 16, and I was skimming through the block of text they put in there because I was trying to wrap my head around what just happened. And I've never gone back and read this stuff. So like I just played it. I don't need to read it. And I actually learned like today, after like 10 years, that the stuff that's written in here is not actually the same as what you play through.
Yeah.
There's a whole bit about like when you ride on the boat with Pokey that he's singing sea shanties and he's driving you crazy and you're about to throw him overboard and then he started vomiting and you're like, oh, thank God he's seasick, he'll shut up. And I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, I wish they had actually shown that in the game because I didn't know that happened. And that's only
I
in
wonder if I
the
wonder if maybe that was gonna be a thing or something. Like if there was gonna be another instance that got cut or something.
yeah, it kind of struck me that like because again I had never really poked around in here because I have always just thought, oh, I just played it, I
Mhm.
don't need to read it again. But now I'm thinking that this is possibly like the original script for what we're supposed to go through, and then maybe it gets sent from the writers to the developers and then they
Yeah, I
just
wonder.
turn chunks of it into gameplay.
I wonder. Something I really like though is they're really doing mysteries. Like I think if we compare this to like Nios,
Hmm.
in Nios it was very much like, oh, we're doing this thing and we kind of know how it's gonna end, right? Like we're gonna defeat the baddie. We know where this is going. But I like how the story right now is much less like, oh, we're doing this like battle. It's much more like there's a lot of different plot threads going on, and to me, it feels like it's working to a reveal, right? It feels like it's working to a reveal, like who is the person who's caused all of this stuff, right? How are the Titans here? Who opened this like gate that the Titans are getting in there? And to me, that's very exciting because it feels like it's going to whatever I assume the next expansion is. It feels like it's building up to this reveal, like oh my gosh, this mysterious character is actually the reason that all of this happened, and then maybe the next expansion will be about fighting that character, which I like. I like that it's a bit more building up to something instead of like wrapping up something.
Yeah, I like that too. I mentioned that in like you said with Interneos and stuff like that. It was very much like book open, book close, very fast.
Yeah,
Like because in my opinion, some of the greatest writing the game ever had was Living World Season 4. And
yeah,
Joko, they didn't just like, oh, here's a mummy. Oh, you got him. Good job. They dragged that out for multiple, like, well, one, he was in Guild Wars 1, and then he was kind of in the background of Path of Fire, and then you see him a bit a few times, and then Living World Season 4, and there's build up. And it's like, guys, you don't have to kill every villain within one expansion. You can let it ride for a while.
exactly. I like that a lot. I like how well there's still there's a chance that in the next patch they reveal the villain and we instantly kill the villain, and that would be horrible. I'm assuming that that's not what's gonna happen. But I like how it feels like they're okay with doing a longer story arc, right? It feels like they're not just like introduce this villain, kill the villain, done, move on to the next thing. It very much feels like this is sort of moving towards something. And I think if you look at these expansions, I think a lot of them are very standalone story-wise.
Yeah.
I don't really think like End of Dragons really leads into Sodo. Like it
Yeah.
does some sort of thesis with demons, but it doesn't really lead into it. And then Soda doesn't really lead into Jennifer Waltz, right? It's more
Yeah.
like you wrap up the story and then you wait for the announcements, right? But now I'm hoping that this will be a proper sort of cliffhanger into the next story, right?
Yeah, I've told because like you, I'm sure that you've gotten people that pop in your chat. Maybe they're thinking about buying the game and they're like, "Hey, which expansions do I need?" Stuff like that. And one response that I've used a lot is like, I'll basically kind of highlight everything from core to End of Dragons and be like, "All right,
Mm-hmm.
this is a set of books, okay?" And then I'll be like, this is a quadrilogy. And then I'll take the other ones and I'll be like, this is like a new side story. If you want to just jump straight over here, you can, and you're not really going to get spoiled other than the fact that you'll know that you lived. You know,
Yeah.
you lived through the first ones, but they don't
And
talk much about
it's called
it.
End of Dragons, you know?
Yeah.
That's a thing, I suppose.
Yeah. You mean in the death of Smaug, they kill Smaug? Are you kidding me? Spoiling a 50-year-old book? Yeah, yeah. I had someone suggest to me that I don't know if I've never done this. I don't know if you have. Have you ever used that feature where you merge chats with another streamer? The shared chat thing?
Yeah, we can do the collaboration modes.
I know.
And then,
this is new for me.
Hold on. Yeah, I've used it like a couple times.
I Googled it and it says type /shared chat. Is it that simple?
Hold on. I can invite a guest. But I'm not sure if I'll put it. Hold on. I'll invite you to my stream.
Okay.
Send invite. I'm not sure where you see this now. Maybe in your dashboard?
Oh, you know what? It's a good thing I had your stream open because I see it in your chat.
Really? And then I can also press start share
Let's see.
chat
Twitch may record video and sound while you're backstage for safety reasons. Wait, did you just invite me to like the Discord call thing?
Yeah, it's like a weird Discord thing, but I don't think we have to use that. But I think this puts our chat together.
Okay, Twitch wants to use your microphone. Allow, but then I'm going to mute it.
Okay. Yeah, I just muted my microphone and the thing, but I think now we're technically a shared chat. And yeah, oh my gosh, the communities are merging together right now.
All right, let's see if this works.
I see your chatters in my chat now.
Let's rock!
Let's see. Test from Muck stream. Let's see if it appears in yours. Oh,
yeah,
snap.
I see it in my chat.
Hey,
oh,
look,
snap.
it's the Tree of Birds.
Oh, the
How
kids
are
can
you?
play. It's a play date!
I think it also like merged like the view counts and stuff as well, so it looks like we have a lot of viewers now, you know?
I actually found that out the other day when, like, you know, no offense to them, but I saw, it was like, you know, Teapot was the top of the category. I was like, completely normal. And then I saw like 5 other people that I usually see further down, and they each had like 8,000 people. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is happening?
Shared, right?
I'm like, how do all of these streamers have 8,000 people? And they're usually like around 100 or something. And then like I finally pieced together that it was just counting them like the same people across all of it. It's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
it combines the count and stuff. It's pretty cool though. Like it sort of gets people to collaborate, right? I like that feature. It's a good motivator to get people to do stuff together.
Oh, it's cool. I got to learn a new trick today.
Wow.
All right, so let's see. So, you know, the Mercant Seers, we kind of talked about the general vibe of how we felt like the story went and stuff like that. Some cool, I thought the whole thing of it, because like, I didn't know anything about the spectral agony, so I thought that was kind of a cool, it was kind of like magical chemical warfare that they engineered for one enemy. And then, you know, one thing that kind of surprised me is there was that one part of the story where you fight off like hundreds of Mersat ghosts for like 5 minutes straight. I was like, at one point I was like, is this gonna end? Like if I was like a newbier player that didn't have a decent build, I might be struggling right now. Like that just kept going and going and going.
I remember thinking like this is what they should have done in Nios. Like, because that actually felt like a big battle, kinda.
Ah, yes, that the war in Nios, cool. That was 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this feels more like a war than the Nios thing felt like a war. But yeah, all in all, I think for me the story was a big step up. But also there's sort of the Guilders one. Like there was a little sort of fan service, and I'm the kind of fan who loves that, right? I love like the Guilders one callbacks and stuff.
Yeah, and then I would say
Uh,
for me, as someone who did not have any threads of nostalgia there, I thought it was good. I
right,
didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I thought it was good.
makes sense.
Okay, next category is they added a new map, the
They did.
Mist-Burned Barrens. And I think the number one thing to talk about on the new map, and I got a few bullet points here, is the surveys thing. They tried something new. Instead of having one big meta, they kind of have three mini ones that just keep going rapid fire over and over and over. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it sort of like repeats over and over, doesn't it? I like how you sort of pop into the map and there's just always something going on. I like how I've just been playing it a bunch while I've been chatting, right? During drops. I just pop in there, there's always something going on. I don't have to like worry about timers or whatever. I like that part. I do think that there something I find strange is they're sort of random. There are like multiple different versions of them. I didn't really catch on to this at the start. But there's like, for example, when you do the North one,
Mm-hmm.
there's one that ends with a really cool boss fight. And then there's also one that ends with
With a
you
nuke.
sort of causing a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
And there's also one where you like buff it up.
Yeah, I think there's
Um,
two or three for each lane, and
yes.
then it either rolls a dice or it rotates through them. Yeah, and that threw me off the first time too, because I was like, okay, it's time to go in and start the fight, and then I was like, get nuked, and I was just like,
Exactly. I was like, what?
by
There's
the way,
no
there's an
fight right
achievement for
now?
getting nuked. Yeah, so that definitely caught me by surprise that there's different ones, but it's kind of
I think
cool. You know,
that
it's a little refreshing.
yeah, it's different. I do like that it's different. I like that how they tried something new. The one part I don't like as much is that I kind of want the fun one. Like I thought the boss fight north was really cool, but then very often I go there and I'm like, oh, we didn't get the boss fight, and like that's my favorite, right? So it's a bit random whether you get the enjoyable one, I suppose. I thought the Sovereign Chain was really fun. It was like well written, I think. It was a fun boss fight at the end. I thought the mid chain was kind of mid, and the North chain I feel like
You thought the mid one was
sometimes
mid?
yeah. Well, the North one is like, if I get the cool boss fight, I'm pretty into it. But if I don't, then I'm like, oh, I'm just kind of like throwing orbs all the time, and I don't like it as much.
Did
Um,
you do the one that ends with you tranquilizing animals and then studying them, and then it's just like, here's a grand chest, and I was like, wait, that's the end.
yes.
That one
I
very
do
much
feel that.
surprised me.
I think that's what I like about the South one, because that one just ends very clearly with a cool boss fight every time, right? I think I'm pretty okay with the change, but I want them to end in a cool boss fight, and the mid one kind of doesn't, and then the North one only does some of the time. I really wonder what the gold rewards are like, because I haven't really measured it. I don't really know what the gold per hour is looking like. So part of me is a bit scared that it's going to be one of those things that's really active right now, but a year from now, are people still doing these events all the time? You know?
I would anticipate it will at least have a bit of traffic because I think the stuff from the zone is required for the legendary backpack that comes out in
Right.
the next update.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I think it will forever be a little bit trafficked, just kind of like how people
Mhm.
still do Dragon Stand. Well, I mean, Dragon Stand is really fun with awesome music, but also it's used for a generation of legendaries. So
Makes sense, yeah. I feel like it's a fun experiment, and I'm pretty okay with it. Right now, I'm enjoying playing it a bunch. I don't think it set the world on fire though. I don't think it's like, whoa, this is the coolest event ever.
yeah, I like that they tried something new with this like
Yeah.
rapid fire mini metas thing, and I would not mind if they did it again. I also kind of wonder from a programming angle if it's kind of like you know how the way they set up Convergence is they can like after they've set it up they can put in more endings for it. Like they
Yeah.
just added Greer and Decima, and then of course the Soto one. There's like 6 different ones or something at this point. Makes me kind of wonder if they wish to, could they just add in more surveys to the pool now that they have got the groundwork set? Now I
Right.
don't know if they would ever go back and spend resources on that, but maybe.
I reckon they're busy working on the next map, right? I'm
Probably.
busy getting that ready. I'm
Yeah.
kind of hoping the next map will be a big sort of like meta event style experience. Because they used to do that like all the time in like EOD and then Soto. They did a lot of those like Giada Delve, Drizzlewoods, Dragon's End. They did that stuff a lot, right? But then in Gen 4 Boss, they kind of haven't been doing that. So I could kind of go for that again. I could kind of go for a big meta events with a cool boss fight at the end, you know?
You mentioned Jaladel, and it made me think that there's an achievement, and it's to fully explore all 4 of the Janther Wilds maps. I forget the name of the achievement. I don't know if you've seen it. But even when you get full map completion on Mistburned Barrens, it doesn't check off Mistburned Barrens on the fully explore achievement. And so people were like, wait, is this one of those maps where they're doing it in halves, like Bjorn Marches? I'm like, no, they said they were releasing the whole thing at one time. And someone said, maybe we're getting a tunnel later. And I was like, you shut your mouth. I was like, you shut your mouth.
Like in the corner of the map, a little tunnel.
I do not want a tunnel. Oh my god. No, do not bring back the tunnel.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing. Have you seen any of the side stories that they added into the new map, such as Mursat's game?
I've done all of them.
Oh, you might have done more than me then. I've done 1 or 2.
I've got all the achievements now because I've just been playing this map the whole time. I think like sort of to get back to the thing, I think that the events we just talked about that, right? But I like a lot of the other stuff in the map. I like a lot of the like little logs that you can find. I like a lot of the side stories. I think the adventures are really, really fun. And the one highlight is what we're talking about now. That there's one side story. Do we spoil this in this video?
Are you about to talk about Mursat's game?
Yeah. Do we talk about this?
I mean, we can be kind of vague about it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go into excruciating detail, but we can talk about it.
They went really high effort. They went high effort with it. It's more than just like, hey, you go and you collect like a couple coins or whatever.
Yeah.
They went pretty hard on them. That was like a special instance sorta, and it was really cool. And I like the storytelling. I like the just what they did with it. I
could
didn't
be
expect
wrong,
it,
but
right?
I think that it was the same instance. Do you remember there was a part in Living World something where you and Bram get thrown to like the other end of creation on like a flying rock? I think it was that same one.
Yeah, I think so too. It's in season 4, right? Season 4, episode 1.
Yeah, I think it's after you meet Bug Boy. Later on from that. But yeah, I had the experience kind of
map, I suppose. But
yeah, I had the experience kind of soured because my game crashed like 3 times in that. There's some kind of bug. If you go in there as a ranger and your pet's out and you're not like a soul beast with it merged, but your pet's a separate entity, the Mursat's game crashes after like 5 minutes.
Oh no.
And so it took us like 4 tries. So that was like, over 20 minutes of trying to get this thing to work.
As well. Yeah.
Just watching the pieces fight.
That does sound pretty frustrating.
It was.
I got pretty lucky, I guess. It just worked on the first try. But yeah, I thought it was cool. And again, just I love like looking at all the little lore books and stuff. I think something I like about this map is it's not super big, right? It's kind of like Lake
it's got
size.
1 waypoint and 1 heart on it.
Like if you look at the map itself, it's pretty small, but at the same time, to me, it's felt pretty dense, right? There's not a lot of like empty space. There's very much like this is where this is happening, this is where this is happening. It's also very vertical. That's something I really liked about it. Like I like getting on the rock claw. I sort of purposefully told myself that I wasn't going to use the sky skull my first playthrough, and I was having so much fun just using like those launchers. You know, like those updrafts. You can jump into those with your rock claws.
Yes, the not updrafts.
Yeah, so I was like running around on the roofs and then jumping and finding another updraft and like just going around. I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, I think they did good sort of side content in this map. You know, fun little collections, fun little side stories, fun little adventures and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty good. But at the same time, it is a bit smaller, right? It's not quite the same size as something like Lowland Shore.
Yeah, it kind of feels like if you're doing the metas, like at any given point, you kind of care about 1/3 of the map, and then like the other 2/3, you're kind of just tuning out.
I agree.
Okay. Let's see. Next thing that they added. Have you tried Greer in the Convergence with all the puggies?
I did try it.
What'd you think about that? She
really
hates it, Chad. Did you hear that long, awkward silence?
No,
oh my god.
I don't hate it. I think it's pretty okay. Actually, I thought it was a lot easier than Greer and Open Worlds. Like Greer and Open Worlds is kind of rough, I feel. There's a lot of like Boon Corrupt and stuff. In the Convergence, it felt a lot more chill to me in comparison. But it's not. It's to me, it's not really like a mind-blowing thing. It's like, oh, cool. There's not a boss you can fight at the end of the Convergence. But
Yeah,
it's not really like, oh my gosh, I'm really excited to do the Convergence because the boss is different. You know, it's still the Convergence.
yeah. I
So I
mean,
think it's a
it's
nice
still
addition, but I don't care a huge amount. I guess.
yeah. You're still probably gonna 100% success rate on these things. They're
Yeah.
not that bad. I will say it's definitely I think more challenging for the puggies than Decima. Is like I go in there on Untamed and I usually have Spirit of Nature. And every single time it comes off cooldown, I'm like, res 10 people. Like, there's
Let's
always a
go.
pile of bodies on the floor when I fight Greer. Not so when I fight Decima. Decima, it's like a rare fluke. So I do think that the less hardcore audience are probably feeling Greer to be a little bit more frustrating. I don't mind it,
Right.
but yeah, there is absolutely a lot of boon corrupt, and it's not like you get hit. Then it's like 2 boons corrupted. It's like no, all 11, they're all gone. You're feared. Your
For
legs are
sure.
broken. They stole your wallet, like everything.
I'm very curious what the challenge modes will be like because that's coming in the next patch, right? They're doing Convergence challenge modes for if you make like your own group. It's not going to be in the public instance, but like if you're making a squad, you can turn on challenge mode and get slightly more
Is
rewards.
that the next one? Yes, Convergence challenge mode, Fractal challenge mode, Fractal and Fractal challenge mode, Convergence challenge mode are in the next patch, and sometime between now and then is Legendary Raid challenge mode.
Yes. I'm really curious what that's going to feel like. Like the Greer and then even more boon corrupts. I guess we'll have to see.
I think the big curveball is if you can't block his projectiles anymore, and just that
Oh,
first wave of heralds just getting obliterated.
that would be a little bit scary. Just a tiny, tiny bit scary. Speaking of challenge modes, though, have you looked at the raid challenge modes they released?
I haven't done it firsthand, but I have lurked in many of the chats of other people that were doing it.
Same.
If I could take one sentence away from it, it's goodbye virtuosos, hello mechanists. Every group I watched
Yeah,
was like 6 mechs and some supports.
Condi Mechanist. It's really, really strong. Easy
Yeah.
to play as well. It feels like the new Virtuoso for sure. No, I'm the same as you. I actually haven't done it yet. You know, I was kind of just focusing on other things so far, wanting to do like the map a lot and stuff. Um, from all the raiders I've talked to though that have been doing it, they seem to quite like them. Like apparently they're pretty different. Instead of just like taking the same raids and then you add some more damage, you add some more health. Like apparently the mechanics change pretty significantly.
Yeah, like
So they seem pretty cool.
I remember one of the things, I don't know the mechanic in depth yet, but I was watching the challenge mode of Decima, and there's a moment where like everyone gets thrown into the air and there's like 3 lightning
Yes.
cages and they have to glide into different cages and everyone in each cage has different jobs and you can't go help the other people because you're all basically locked in. I mean, maybe if you had like shift signet or something, but for the most part they're all locked in. So I don't fully know what's going on there, but I was like, yeah, okay, there's nothing like this in the normal version of the fight.
Yeah.
This is a completely new thing.
It looks pretty neat. I'm excited to try it out. Decima CM to me definitely seems like the most fun one. I think Greer CM is supposed to be quite tough. You know, Greer in general is quite tough, but then the challenge modes
Yeah.
apparently makes it even worse.
Yeah,
But
apparently
I'm
there was
excited
a
to give it a
lot
shot.
of the groups. There was this one streamer, and I wish I could remember their name. I would plug them right now, but I can't recall it. They had this dashboard on the bottom of their stream during that first 24 hours that had like Snow Crows and their progress, and then like, you know, RDO's group and their progress, and Teapot's group. And you could basically see, and it was updating with all of them. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And you could see every group that started with Decima finished Decima in like a few hours and went to Greer. Every group that started with Greer was there for like the next half a day. So Greer was definitely like a stumbling block, you know, like a speed bump, and like everyone was getting snagged on Greer. And then if they got through Greer, they seemed to take out Ura pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, that was like the official like Void Lounge. They're like this big community that does like Harvest Temple and Ceres and stuff.
Chat says that's
And
the one that had the dashboard at the bottom.
yeah, it was pretty cool. They were doing like a proper like coverage stream, right? So they
Yeah.
had some casters and they were like keeping track of all the streams and stuff. I was kind of sad I was streaming myself because like I watched the Vault after and it was a good time. I like seeing the community sort of rally around a race like that, and I think they did a really good job with the challenge modes. And then the legendary mode's still coming, right? Like that's gonna be really exciting to watch. Like the supposedly even harder boss fight that's coming. But yeah,
Yeah,
from what I can tell, I haven't actually done the challenge mode, but from what I can tell, they did a pretty good job with the challenge modes.
yeah, it seemed like because like the top players in the game were not just going in there and one-shotting it.
Yeah.
It took them some time. You know, some of them it took them like a play session on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they got it Thursday. You know, and you know some people were like, "Oh, doesn't that mean it's too easy?" It's like, no. Keep in mind, there's one above this that hasn't come out yet. There's another one that'll kick them in the teeth, and then they want to wipe on that for a week. They've still got that coming.
And like, if for anyone watching that's like thinking like, oh gosh, the best players in the game, it will also get a bit easier as like, you know, the strategies are figured out and stuff, right?
Oh,
You
absolutely.
gotta keep in mind that people are going into this blindly. They've got like no clue what's going on, but there's gonna be guides and stuff, right? So it should hopefully be a bit easier to get into it.
Yeah, that's like when I joined
well.
that Sarah's Challenge mode group recently and I tried it for the first time. The group I joined, it took them weeks to figure out all the little
Yeah.
things to do. But once I was there, they already had a script and they're like, here, read this. And I read it. And then it's like, okay, we got to kill in 2 hours. And, you know, but the hard part was learning all of that stuff to begin with.
Yeah,
That was
for
much more
sure.
time consuming than execution.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we raid CM was absolutely my next bullet point, and we've already just blasted through that. This is something I think you'll have more to say about than me. The new Homestead stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I use my Homestead as just a money factory. I don't really use it for decor. However, they've added these new decor books that I've had a few of like drop around the world that give me just like a pile of new recipes. Have you seen these?
Yes, it's so good. I really like what they did here. So they just added like more decorations just in a new patch, like usual. You can like get another tier, you can buy some recipes from the art vendor. But they also added these achievements called the Home Sweet Homestead achievements.
Yeah, I've seen those
And
pop up.
basically, they added like a whole bunch of them. And if you do events in certain maps around the world, you get like a recipe, or sometimes you even get a recipe book. So they basically added a ton of new decorations, which all the Homestead fans are really happy with, just having more options, right? But I love how they sort of put them in the game, right? I love how it's like, hey, you want to get this decoration? Go play some Omnitas. Go play the Desolation map a little bit. I think it's really smart because some people are really into the homesteading thing. Some people are not, and that's totally okay too. But for those people that are super into it, it's kind of fun having this sort of world tour you're going on to like get different decorations and stuff. So we were doing this on the stream yesterday, and I was playing all these maps that I haven't played in a while. Like I haven't really played the Desolation very much, and we were like doing the meta and the Desolation to like get achievements. You can also skip them. If you don't want to do this stuff, you can also just talk to the bear NPC, and I think it's like 10 gold for each recipe. So like you can just brag the bear or brag. You can like bribe the bear instead
Brag the
of doing
bear.
the achievements. You
Just
can
pay him
bribe the
off.
bear too. But yeah, I think it's fun. I'm not gonna bribe the bear. I think it's kind of fun to just chase all the little achievements and stuff. It's something that's really, I imagine, kind of low effort for them to do, right? They program one achievement and then they just put it in different maps. But it's,
No, I
it's
agree
a,
with you because plus it's a way of not that we have many maps that are dead because of the whole horizontal progression thing, but it is a way of breathing more life into maps that might have been dying down. Like I found out about this, and again, because like you know when I see patch notes, other than when I'm reading them for like a news video, my brain just kind of my eyes just glaze over when I hit Homestead stuff until I'm past that section because it's just not my jam. I enjoy looking at some of the final products, like that guy that made Naxxramas, the flying citadel inside his homestead, or like that shaman who made the underwater homestead. I'm sure you saw that video.
Yes.
I enjoy seeing those final products. I don't usually go in there and do that myself. But I was in, I think I did a Dragon Stand the other day with chat. And I got like Book of Dragon Stand. It gave me a bunch of homestead stuff. And I was like, what? And that was when I found out about it. And then I started looking at the achievement. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So they're you know getting people to visit these other zones. And I like the execution there.
For sure, me too. Also, for all the Homesteader fans that are watching, you might have missed this, but they said on the forums in like a buried forum post that they're looking into increasing the cap. So right now
Oh,
you can
that's
have
been a
only
common
1,000.
ask.
Yeah, you can only have 1,000 decoration in your homestead, which is quite a lot, but it's pretty easy to hit because it's a big instance, right? The homestead map is actually relatively large if you want to decorate the whole thing. But they said that they're looking into ways of increasing it. So hopefully, maybe the next big Gen for Bots patch in 3 months, maybe the cap will go up, hopefully, pretty significantly. So I'm pretty excited for that one. That's gonna be good.
Yeah, I would say on the Homestead topic, that's one of the most requested changes I've seen from
For
community
sure.
members is like, I just finished detailing my kitchen. I haven't even started on the living room, and I'm at the cap. And I'm just like, how much did you put in your freaking kitchen? You know, so like I'm gonna crash just walking
1,000
into this guy's
plates in my
kitchen.
kitchen.
Yeah. Let's see. They added the new nodes. Not much to say about that, but it's pretty cool. Getting passive income if you get those nodes in your home instance of the 2 resources from Lowland Shore and the 2 resources from Janthier Century, which means we could probably expect nodes at some point in the future for Mistburned Barrens, which will have the 2 resources there. Right now, you gotta do it the manual way. And then, of course, it's worth mentioning that if anyone didn't notice it, there is a Mistburned Baron's Mastery that rewards a backpack that says it is required to make a legendary item later. So it's almost certainly the precursor for the future legendary backpack or like gift of type of thing. So you can go ahead and work on that and get that done right now. When I first realized that, I was at like 15 out of 17 progress. Like I was almost done just from playing the map normally and not really trying. So it's not that bad. It's not like a star to guide us, which still keeps me up at night.
Oh my gosh, that was a long one, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was pretty easy. Like, I even got all the achievements on my first story playthrough. I didn't even have to replay the story to get any of the achievements this time. So in a way, I kind of feel like I'm, quote-unquote, done with the patch. I've gotten all the achievements pretty much at this point. But like I also played a lot though, right? They were like Twitch trolled. I must have played the map like 40 hours at this point or something.
Oh yeah. I mean, your average player that might just have like an hour or 2 to play a night it's still going to take them a couple weeks to do what we've done in this 1 week.
Exactly. But it's pretty fast, I think, in the grand scheme of things. All in all, how would you rate the patch? Not to take over from your Google Doc.
No, you're fine. Wait, this is just to remind me some stuff I wanted to ask about. This is not like a we have to follow the list. How would I rate it? Again, so like adding Greer to the Convergence, I thought was kind of nice because I do a lot of pugging. I don't have a static group, so I do a lot of just public stuff with the community. And Greer is a nice like step up in challenge, but while still being totally doable. So I'm kind of enjoying the Greer Convergence just for those reasons. Homestead stuff didn't really affect me. I've enjoyed watching the raid CMs, so just other streamers do it, although I wasn't doing it myself this week. The story, again, I just thought it was good. It wasn't like, again, I had no connections to Guild Wars 1, so for me it wasn't excellent, but it wasn't bad either. I just thought it was good. I like the Mistburned Barons. It's not that I love Mistburned Barons, but I love that they tried something new here. This whole triple lane thing, because I wouldn't mind seeing more of this and then, polished even more.
Yeah.
Like for example, Giala Delve was an experiment. I think, like in my mind, this was way more enjoyable than my first Giala Delve.
I agree. And also, I've kind of just been comparing it to those patches, I guess, because to me it's felt like ArenaNet has had a pretty solid track record with the expansion launches, but then the patches have been received pretty negatively, right? Like, there's a lot of criticism around the Nios patches, the Giada Delve patches. So to me, I was pretty happy that I enjoyed this patch more than those. I enjoyed the map more.
I agree.
I enjoyed the story more. I don't think the map is like the new best map they've ever made, right? I don't think it's like, I think Lowland Shore was like incredible. It's not that. But like, to me, it did feel like a big step up over those previous patches, and I'm really happy about that. Feels like stuff is moving in the right direction.
Like, I really love Soto at launch, but like what you said, the later releases in Soto were definitely, I remember them less fondly than the launch of Soto.
Yeah, same. Although there was some good stuff in there, like Sarah's challenge modes, which you just did.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, like, Saris is one of those examples where I was saying they did the book open, book shut thing too quickly. I wish they had dragged him out a little bit. He was such a well-received antagonist And
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, that guy looks badass," when they saw him in the trailer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, "Oh, you see the demon? Oh, you got him. Good job. Okay, next demon." I'm like, "No, don't kill him that fast. He was cool." At least they brought him back for that one fractal that everyone hates.
But then the challenge modes, and you feel like you're fighting him for like a month,
Yeah.
and then he doesn't die as quickly.
But yeah, I really like him as an antagonist. That one trailer they did where him and his sister are sassing each other. Like we got so little Sarah stuff, and I loved all of it. He was really
Let's
cool.
go.
Who was even the final villain of that expansion? The Demon King or whatever. I don't even remember his name. That's how little I care about him. Saris was #1 for that expansion.
For sure, for sure.
Let's see.
And that's kind of the weird thing, because in Janfir, we don't even know who the villain is yet. I think that's what I like about the storytelling. Instead of like introduce a villain and then kill them off, it's like
yeah,
you sort of get the idea that there might be a villain behind the scenes, and like to me that makes me excited for the next one, because like I've got all these theories, right? And I'm just sitting here like, oh, maybe it's Menzies, right? Maybe it's the fallen half-brother of Balthazar that's like doing stuff in the background. And then there was like the gate, and the gate there's like fire and shadow, and I'm like, yo, that looks like Menzies stuff. I'm here for the speculation. As somebody who loves like going full conspiracy theory, I'm having so many conspiracy
I
theories.
also like that. Maybe not for the same reasons as you, but I do also love that when we went to Janthir, it wasn't because of a new, bigger, badder bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, all right, there's still fallout from this demon problem. We're gonna go meet the residents here, let them know what's up, and try to help them. And then we get there, and they're like, "Oh no, we kicked their butts, but we got this other thing." And we're like, "Wait, what other thing?" And I kind of liked how it led into that. And like also like a good story doesn't always need a bigger, badder bad. Like in my mind, that's a trap that WoW fell into. It's like, it's the Lich King. It's Archimonde. Oh, it's the Burning Legion. Oh, and then they just kept going up and up and up, and now we're fighting a guy that farts planets, and it's just like, dude, you gotta chill out for a second. And it's like, I recently played Avowed. And a lot of people hate on Avowed. I enjoyed it, and that's as much as I'll say about that, because that's not the point. The antagonist in Avowed, as far as you know it for most of the game, is what's called a spirit plague. It's killing people, and it's contagious on the spiritual level. And it's that's the bad. You're trying to find a way to deal with this. It's like a pestilence. And it was a really cool story. You don't always have to have some guy, villain stroking a white cat in the background every single time. It's sometimes it works, but it's not required. Rant over, I promise.
I feel like they are moving towards that, though. Or at least that's my guess. Like, I keep thinking like that there's gonna be some big reveal in the next batch. But to me, it feels like they've earned it a bit more. Instead of like, villain
true.
comes out of nowhere. It feels more like, yo, we've had a slow build up, and then we have a satisfying reveal of the next villain. I hope. I mean, I'm just kind of like,
Oh yeah, I hope to.
dreaming about the next.
As long as
batch,
it's not
right?
just like, here's E-Park. Oh, you got him.
Exactly.
Chat reminded me of his
So,
name. I didn't remember his name.
I'm
There's
very excited.
your
Like,
evil. There's your cat to pet menacingly.
Exactly. No, but it's been a while since I've been excited about where the story's gonna go, and that's kind of, I am feeling that feeling right now. I'm like, oh, I gotta know what happens next. I gotta count down the days and wait for like what the next batch is gonna bring story wise. And
Yeah.
again, it's also because I'm so into all the Guild Wars 1 stuff, and all the big reveals and stuff. But yeah, I'm feeling good about this story. And the map was pretty solid. I enjoyed the map. The raid CMs look kind of awesome. The homesteading stuff was cool. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with this patch. I think it's one of the better ones they've done in a while.
That's good. Let's see. We don't have to cover these. I only had a few more things on here. Did you see the new relics? Actually, I know you did partly because I remember in one of your videos you were talking about, the parrots are coming back. You were hyped for the birds.
That is true. Like they've added some new relics, which I actually haven't looked at yet.
I think
like
one of
brand
them
new
has
Dental.
become like meta, like best in slot. Did you see that?
Oh, I've not
It was
looked at that
Relic of
though.
Thorns, and it's whenever a poisoned enemy hits you, you get a stacking buff to your condition damage. So if you're fighting an enemy like Bone
Oh.
Skinner that pulses damage in the room, so he's constantly hitting you, you get like 500 condition damage. It just stacks up like that high. And so on any fight, I believe, I've been told this by others, if you're Condi, on any fight with pulsing damage, that's like new best in slot.
Yo, that's pretty cool.
As long
I
as you
like
can
that.
apply 1 poison.
That's pretty neat.
But yeah, besides
I
that,
haven't looked
there's
at
like
any
all
of the
the,
new ones.
like the parrots and the golems and stuff.
Yeah. So there used to be runes that would give you sort of a summon, right? So you could have a parrot if you had like the pirate runes. You could have like a golem, or you could have a flesh golem, or like a little flesh minion, or like a rock dog. And people really liked those. But then they went to relics, right? And they never made relics for those summons, so they basically got deleted from the game. And then they brought them back with this patch. So you can have your little parrot friend again, like following you around. And it's not meta, you know, it's not like gonna.
Yeah, I
set the world
tested
on
them as
fire.
DPS, and I couldn't beat my old numbers. And of course, then there's the added risk of it. If it gets killed, it'll be even worse or like knocked
Yeah.
away. But my favorite memory of it was the rock dog, the golem, the parrot, and a jagged horror. My favorite memory with those was there was a time period where a guild in World versus World, they all ran Runes of the Golemancer, which is now Relic of the Golemancer. And so whenever they got in a fight, and it's like when you enter combat, once per 60 seconds, it's like a 60-second duration, 60-second cooldown, you'll summon this golem. So it's like 50 people, they get into combat, and suddenly there's 100 targets. It's even
Oh my
worse if there's any
God.
Reapers in there spamming Rise. And it's just like all of a sudden the enemy, you know, they're doing, you know, barrage, or they're firing, you know, long-range weapons, but all these weapons have a target cap of 5. They can hit 5 targets. Well, suddenly your 50 enemy targets just became 100 plus
Oh my
enemy targets.
gosh.
And it was just like a wall of golem meat was protecting their army. And I'm just like, as soon as I saw the Golemancy relics coming back, I'm like, I hope this ridiculousness returns to World v World, because I
Let's
want to see it.
go.
I want to see it.
I just like the flavor, you know? It's just fun. Like, if you're doing like your pirates cosplay, you can have a parrot. I think that's sick.
Yes. It's decent too.
You know, it's not just
I parse
about what's
them.
meta,
I parse
right?
them. It's decent.
It's also about you know, just your parrot friends is back, you know?
Yeah.
Now we just need a cat relic, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, I checked. The Rock Dog, the Golemancer, and the Parrot each do like 1 to 2k DPS. For some reason, the Jagged Horror does like 100. It does like a tenth of the others.
Oh no!
But the other 3 did like 1 to 2k DPS. So for some noobs, that'll be like doubling your damage.
Wow. But yeah, it's cool. I'm glad they brought them back. There's also some like just general World v World's quality of life coming. They announced in like this patch in 2 weeks. Just some like improvements, just some like fixes and stuff. That's pretty neat, I guess, for the World v World fans.
I'm not sure if I've seen those patch notes, or I've already forgotten it. One of the two. I'll have to.
They mentioned it a bit in
the.
the roadmap. They're tweaking some of the numbers and stuff like that. They made it so that you can now see in your guild who has picked your guild as their World versus World guild.
Yes, I did see that. It's like if you open the guild panel, I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd column. It's near the beginning. There's like a marker there. So if you got someone that's not paying attention, you'd be like, Bobby, represent!
Exactly.
And then, yell at the person who didn't do it correctly before they're out of time.
Exactly. You can warn them beforehand. But I think we've kind of gone over everything now, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much. That was most of the new stuff. Besides that, they added some like, you know, weapon skins, armor skins. There was like a Wizard Vault refresh, but not much to say about that stuff, I imagine. And the masteries, which were
Yeah.
they weren't really much of anything. It was like Raven's Gates, more loots, more Homestead. That's it.
I kind of wish they would have made the new like super updrafts a mastery, because I thought those were so fun. Like on getting on your rock claw, and then like you get to do the really high jump in the sky. Like if that was a mastery, I would have been like, yo, the masteries are cool. But that's just like anyone can do it. It's not locked by a mastery.
I admit,
So,
when I
like-
first saw the new not updrafts, I was like, oh, come on, this is just an updraft with another name. And then I went to the hidden Sacrarium, and it has like sideways ones and diagonal ones, and you like ping ping ping
Yes.
off of it, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of neat. All right, I grant you that. I grant you that. But until I went into that little area, I was like, ah, come on, this is the same thing. You just renamed
But
it.
you can use them with the rock claw, which is cool. Like you go in them and then you go like woo, you go like really high in the sky. Feels like Elden Ring.
You got to
You know, like
woo.
in Elden Ring, the launchers that you could get on with like torrents. Feels
Yes.
a lot like that.
Yes,
Not like that.
your goat horse.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, I think we have completely covered it. It is we like to see them try new things out of 10. And yeah, I think I've exhausted everything I had to say. You have anything to add?
I'm excited for the next patch. It's like the eternal cycle, you know? It's like I'm waiting for the patch and it comes out and I'm like, oh, I need the next one. I gotta wait 80 more days.
The next
I've got,
one,
like, the number
I
in
mean,
my
the
head.
next one should be pretty major. I mean, to be vague, this one in the story ended with us staring at a very important location, and maybe next time we're going to step into that location, or something's going to come out of that location, which is equally terrifying. That whole bit about Mabon, like you mentioned, I'm gonna backtrack for a second. You mentioned parts of the story were kind of hard to follow, and it almost was easier that we were following the memories of someone that was dead, because that helped me put the timeline in order in my head. I'm like, okay, well, he's dead here, so this had to happen before this point. That almost helped me. But yeah, the part where he went through, I'll say, a door and then came back is kind of scary based on what we know. Like, did he defeat something over there and then come back and lock the door? Did he make a deal over there and then come back and shut the door quietly? You know, like there's a lot
There's
of what ifs
something
there, and
going
I don't even know
on.
half the story.
There's something going on and I need the answers, you know? It's like I'm watching Lost. I want to know what the smoke monster is right now. And also, you know, it's kind of exciting in general because it's the final patch for Gen 4 Wilds. So reasonably, the next expansion announcement will be a little bit after that. Right? That's what they've kind of been doing. They've been doing like final patch, and then 2 weeks after the final patch, that's when they do their big expansion reveal.
Yeah, unless they're stepping away from their annual cycle thing that they started,
Yeah, that could be
which
phase
they've
2, I
not
guess.
yet mentioned. That would be it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like expecting we got like the 80 days and then 2 weeks, and then we know what's next, which I'm excited about. Should be good.
Someone in your chat is saying that you're outdoing me by showing off your cat, and I'm not showing off my cat. Mine is just this orange lump over here right now, chat. That's an ear. That's all I got right now. I don't want to mess with him too much at the moment. There you go. Briefly, there was an ear of 2 of the most famous Guild Wars 2 cats on stream at the same time.
Let's go.
Remember this day.
Good content.
All right, well, this was super short notice, so I really appreciate you being willing to do this. I thought it was fun. I hope you did too.
Yeah, this was cool. I always like doing these little chats.
All right, well, I will let you get back to it, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And yeah, we should totally do this again in the future. Good times.
Definitely.
Have an awesome stream.
See ya.
Bye bye.